basically, a lot of us, sometimes the light comes from the physical, maybe you look good, maybe it comes from your financial situation, maybe you got a lot of money, you have a lot of material things that people look at. That's how you feel like you shine. If you don't have it mentally, you're not lit in the mental. Then when all that's stripped away, what do you have left?
Welcome to the Cipher, flow harder than the hands on Peter Piper. And now we would like to introduce you to your rivals. It's like Ali and Tyson. The hook miss with the liking. Show nothing, Mr. Bison, Maximus and Leonidas. You were in the booth with Titans, goons, goblins, and Vikings. It ain't really nothing like us.
Hey, so welcome to the first episode of the Lit Code. I'm Edgar Jones. I got my other partner in crime next to me, man. Go ahead and let the people know who you are.
And I'm Courtney Anderson, A.K.A. Conrad, a.k.a. Big C.
Conrad, Big C.
Yeah.
You got a couple names, man.
Yeah,
We here.
Yeah.
This is it. This has been a long time in the making, man. A lot of conversations, a lot of long conversations. Funny thing about it is that every single time we get into a conversation, I somewhat got to block about an hour to 30 minutes off to have a conversation with you because I know how far we get into going with it. But man, what got us to this point?
Well, like you said, man, just conversation basically, like about life. I think just growing. We always have had conversations. We grew up together, but I guess as we started to embark on different endeavors, dealing with just being men, being husbands, being fathers, those conversations got deeper. And then somewhere along the line, we realized that our thought process was kind of the same. You know, we think about things a little differently than others. And so from there, we kind of ran into this. So I can remember being on the way to West Virginia to a job, and we had a long conversation. We said then, hey man, you know, kind of seemed like people need to hear this. You know what I'm saying? This could help people out. And from there, man, it's like anything else. We wrote it down. I think that's very important. We wrote it down. We revisited, and then over time, it grew into what it is now. I started to put out content on Facebook. Eventually, you started doing Truck Talk. From there, we kept the conversations going, kept writing stuff down, kept planning, and now we're here. So that's how we got here in my eyes. You want to tell a little bit about your side of it?
Yeah. Well, first, for the viewers and everybody that's checking this out, I'm just going to introduce myself, tell you a little bit about me. We'll just go from there. So, like I said, Edgar Jones from Rayville, Louisiana, a little small town about 20 minutes from Monroe, Louisiana, sitting right at the top. We're at the Northeast. Some people from New Orleans are down bottom kind of argue if we're from Louisiana or not, but I'm from Louisiana, bro.
Yeah.
Rayville, that is. Learned a lot growing up, man. A lot of small town living, blue collar, where everybody, they get it how they live. They go out there and they work hard and do what they do to take care of theirs and take care of their family and take care of the people around them. So a lot of lessons learned there. From there, I played basketball growing up, played a little football. Scared of football. I ain't want no part of that contact. That's another part of the story. But ended up playing football and ended up going to Southeast Missouri State in 2003. And from 2003 to 2007, I was there. Then, man, I ended up going to the National Football League, played in the NFL for 7 years. And that's a whole nother episode getting into that as well, but was fortunate and blessed to play in the NFL for 7 years, ended up retiring in 2015. And now I'm here. But kind of going back to what you said about the question you asked, you know, when I played in the league, me and you had those conversations here and there, you know, whether you was texting me something, we had a brief conversation on the phone due to just us being busy in life. But it wasn't really until life slowed down and for me. And we start to really sit down and have conversations and really start to pay attention to the conversation that was going about. And to your point, it really, I started to see and started to understand, and not just me, but having other people around me saying, hey, y'all need to start putting something out. So based off that, those conversations with myself, talking to you, with other people, has gotten us to this point. And honestly, quite frankly, man, there was a little resistance with this because I felt like, man, nobody want to hear what I got to say. You know, we all go back and forth with, ain't nobody paying attention to what I'm doing. Don't nobody care about what I say. Don't nobody care about what I do. But the fact of the matter is, that's BS, man. There's always somebody watching you and paying attention to you. And really, as me and you would always say, look at you as a superhero. So me understanding, for me personally, my gift, God gave me a gift to be able to speak and encourage people, and being able to help them in their lives. So for me, I just realized this was bigger than me, man. So that's just really what got us to this point.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can remember the resistance point, because I would be telling you, man, you got to give speaking. I think I watched you speak at a church one day, and then I know you're doing your Camp Gladiator thing, and I told you that I can see your switch turn on, and we talked about that a lot because when you were in the league, most of the time when we did talk, I would be sending you something before a game to kind of get you going. That's when we talked the most. It's right before your games. I'd always try to send you something to kind of rev you up. And while you were playing there, you had to turn the switch on. So me watching you play and then watching you speak, I kind of noticed the same switch. Now, most of the time, somebody else always has to tell us, has to give us game on how we are. We don't see ourselves as other people do. So it was me telling you that, and at the same token, I'm telling you what you need to do, and you telling me, well, hey, man, you read some of the stuff you send to me, or you read some of the stuff you type up. Like, you need to be doing something too. So it's kind of like both of us pushing each other. And so that's a good segue into my introduction, and how we met in the first place. We didn't have to meet. We were basically born together. The kids of a brother and sister. I'm from the same little magical town, Rayville, Louisiana. Grew up in the country. The old country boy, son of Bo and Gail Anderson. Went to Rayville High. I was always I was a little more rambunctious than you were as a child. I was the one that would always get into stuff. I wasn't shy at all, I don't think, but I was also a good mix of things because I was also a nerd. All through school, I always had good grades, but I always gravitated towards all kinds of different people. And so I guess I kind of learned the language of everybody, which will help me now and help us in this endeavor, because I kind of know how to speak to people. I grew up around a lot of elders. Also, my grandmother, Miss Biddy, raised me until I was 2 years old, and she passed, and I had to start school at 2, the Little Flower Academy, and I just never got held back. So by the time I was 16, I was a senior. You and I played ball together coming up. I did like contact. So football I was always a big boy, so football was gonna be my thing anyway. But we both grew up basically in the same houses. Funny story is our family, so my mother's side and then my father's side is where I'm related to you. People think that that's the same family. We talked about it before. You can't tell nobody that you and Chris Hayes aren't first cousins, just blood related, you know what I'm saying? Because that's how close our families were. And one thing our families had in common was taking care of people, reaching out to other people. Those that had businesses, they employed people from all walks of life, taught us to respect all people. So us doing this is kind of like what we were born to do in my eyes. Anyway, graduated Raven High, went to Southern University, jumped out to work for the USDA for a little while. Now I'm currently a NACE inspector out on the gas lines, and also one of the co-owners of L.I.T, Illuminating the Thought, which is it's kind of our blanket business for some of the stuff we're going to be getting into later. This podcast, for one, L.I.T Code.
Yeah, brother, why don't you go ahead and elaborate on that? The L.I.T Code.
So again,
that's the name of this, the L.I.T
yeah.
Code. Let's talk about this. The L.I.T Code.
Our you can see it behind me. I don't know which way to go. That way. So our blanket business, Illuminating the Thought Motivational Movement, or L.I.T. L.I.T is a term that the youngsters use now to say something's hype or it's good. This party is lit. That means it's a good party. They're having a good time. But in the technical sense, if something's lit, that means it's ignited. Or if you leave the candles lit in the house, that means they're still burning. Illuminated is a word that's obsolete now. Actually, somebody decided that it's not a word anymore, but it means to light or to ignite. And then in thought, basically, a lot of us, sometimes the light comes from the physical, maybe you look good, maybe it comes from your financial situation, maybe you got a lot of money, you have a lot of material things that people look at, that's how you feel like you shine. If you don't have it mentally, you're not lit in the mental, then when all that's stripped away, what do you have left? So we want you to be lit in thought, meaning your thought process, your mindset is what's lit. So the L.I.T Code, Egg and I like to refer to each other as likings. And for those of you that don't know, that's a form of werewolf. You know, if you're familiar with the movie Underworld, what a liking basically was Lucian. And Lucian was the only werewolf known to man that had control of when he turned into a werewolf. So we all have these polar opposite sides, right? Some of us can't control when we switch that on and off, but we figured out a way to do it through a lot of different experiences, but we like to call ourselves likings. It's just a little inside thing. But anyway, the way we speak to each other, the way we look at things, the way we break down things that are supposedly complicated or traumas that are hard to deal with, we don't blow them up into something that we can't handle. We usually simplify it, so break it down to some of the simplest thoughts that we run into every day. And that's how we get by them. So we call it the L.I.T Code because that's our code. That's our way of decoding, if you would, some of our problems in life, whether it be big or small. We take the same approach to simplifying it and getting by with it. So that's the name. That's why we came up with it. You want to elaborate?
It's yeah, brother. I'm about to elaborate on it. It's interesting you say that. I noticed something you said earlier about, for some of us, and I would say I was maybe a victim to this of, we said illuminate in thought means to be bright, to shine. You talked about how a lot of times we do it through the external, right? What you got on, how much money you got, or maybe it's the house you live in, or the nice car you drive, or the list goes on and on and on, especially in this day and era, which there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like if it becomes your world, then what if that gets taken away, to what you said? And for me personally, like when we talk about the L.I.T Code, for me, I feel like I was really tapped into illuminating in thought before I got into the NFL. Because that's all I saw. That was my world. I wasn't in the league yet. And I knew just pure off of me not having talent, I wanted to train my butt off and be the best at everything I did. But it was also a good outlet for me as well, just to deal with my frustrations in life and the things that was getting thrown at me. But it's funny, like when I got to the league at some point in time, and I can't put a stamp on when it happened, I did get somewhat caught up in the process of and the bright lights and the flashiness and the money and the cars and the fast life, man. It was fun. It was fun. Um, but after that stopped and when it got done, it really got me back in a place and realizing and understanding that I truly had fell away from being in tune with myself, figuring out more about who I was as a man, who I was created to be, and just being in tune with myself. And honestly, I felt like that had to happen. I had to be at that level to experience that, um, to finally step away from it and be at a place now to saying, all right, like what's my thought process look like? How am I thinking? Getting back to the basics, as I call it, right? Getting back to the basics and the foundation of what my mental looks like. Because the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, that's the most important thing to me. Your thought process, what you thinking, how you think, what you saying to yourself, how you talking to yourself. The brain is an interesting muscle because as soon as you wake up in the morning, it's firing.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, it may wake you up in the middle of the night firing and telling you about what you can't do, who said what. Um, it's somewhat. It seems like somewhat just by a lot of people's upbringing, like it's kind of set up to make you think in a negative way. So you're always trying to counter it with the positive thoughts. So um, going back to the lit code, man, it was extremely important for me because I think it's important for every single person, no matter what race, no matter where you come from, shape, size, how you grew up, to start to challenge yourself on your thought process, um, and just to open up your mind and be conscious about what you're thinking about and what you're saying to yourself. And whatever you thinking, dude, if I'm thinking it mentally, eventually it's going to be something I'm physically putting out there as well. I'm talking to myself crazy and saying calling myself all type of words and beat myself up. And eventually, at some point in time, that's what I'm going to project on other people as
Mm-hmm.
well. So
Yeah, man. Even that in itself, this that you see on the wall, this podcast, this moment right now was a thought 2 years ago, right? And then we worked towards it. We kept thinking about it, and now it's here. And we had help from outside, right? People telling us, "Hey, man, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, you need to do that." And then we had something we want to speak on. Now we had a chance to kind of put it on display in front of others on another level, and they kind of let us know we already knew. And so
yeah,
just thoughts, man. If we were thinking, oh man, that'll never work. They don't want to hear us. So we'd have kept that up, then we wouldn't be here at this very moment today. So you said something interesting about getting back to your mental and thinking about who you were as a man. And we both gave some background on ourselves, but one of our favorite podcasts is or was hot boxing. Matter of fact, when we blow up, Mike, if y'all hear this, we want Evan back.
we need Evan back, man. Bring Evan
Back
back.
on hot boxing. But Mike Tyson likes to uh, sit back and kind of stare down some of the guests, especially the ones that he doesn't know, and he'll ask them a question that we always play around with, and it's who are you? So we got the background, we got where you from, what you did, but how about just diving in on who you are?
Yeah, man. That's a good question.
Mhm.
I think it's a question that every single person needs to ask themselves. As a matter of fact, I've been asking myself that question, and I'm still on that journey of trying to figure that out.
Mhm.
And the thing about it is that um, I haven't been frustrated about it because I knew it just would take time. Um, when we all got greatness inside of us. We all have so many different great skills that's inside of us, and a lot of times it takes time to truly get to a place to understand what that is that you have. So for me, part of the reason why I feel like it's taken me so long to figure out truly who I am is because I spent so much time trying to be other people, especially playing in the NFL. Um, it kind of got away from me. I kind of feel like I got away from what got me to that level, the hard work, um, being the guy that's the last one to walk off the field, being the first one to get on the field, just that whole mindset that you weren't going to outwork me. That when I got to the NFL, I felt like everything I had to do had to look like this player. I had to play the way he played or do moves the way he did it. And obviously, what ended up happening with that was, um, I think it took me further away from truly what my strength was.
Mhm.
And more importantly, I think for a long time, my identity lied in the NFL. That's just what it was. That was my life. That was something that I spent a lot of time doing, whether I was on the field or off the field. My off season wasn't really my off season because when the season was over with, I probably had about 4 to 6 weeks really to just chill with family, reevaluate my life before it was time for me to get back to training and to taking care of business. So for a long period of time, not just the NFL, but from college, my identity was lied in um, just football. I mean,
Mhm.
that was my world. So for me, that really started once the once the clock went 0, 0, 0. that which is a very scary time for me because it was silence, it was quiet, and the thing about that was that the glamorous life wasn't something that I cared about. It was cool, I enjoyed it, but it was just now, all right, football is done, but who are you? So that's still a path I'm going on, man. Still trying to figure that out. I know part of that answer, that question that you asked me is a lot of this predicated off how I think. Going back to what we talked about the lit code, right? Like my thinking process. What am I thinking? Um, I am a king. I am a man of God. I am a child of God. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm love. I'm peace. I'm anger. I'm all those things, right? That you
Mhm.
constantly trying to have a grasp on. So for me, man, it's um, still trying to figure that one out. Y'all stay tuned on that one. I'll let you know when I come up with it. But I honestly think, truly, fully, you never can fully get to that answer about who you are. It's physically you can see me, but spiritually, there's a whole spiritual thing that's going on with me as well. So
Mhm.
it's I don't think you truly can get to the answer. Um, but I think the most one thing that's extremely important is just starting to ask yourself that question and spend time with yourself.
Yep.
Because in order for me to get to a place, right, of figuring out who I am, then first I need to be able to spend time with myself. I need to silence out the world. I need to be in a place uh, just where everything is still, um, to sit down and spend time with maybe that's your universe, whatever your beliefs may be. Maybe it's universe. Maybe that's you getting into your Bible, doing some reading. For
Mhm.
me, biblically, connecting that way. And I felt like the more I start to do that, I start to get a little bit more in tune with who I am. So y'all stay tuned. I'll let y'all know when I figure all it out. But it's the important thing is just starting the process, man. So
Yeah. So for me, it's to piggyback off what you said. You never really grab that because who you were when you just started telling me or giving me that answer, it's already beginning to change now because we're having new experiences, right? And if you're evolving, you're never really the same, uh, only for a moment, and then you're something else because you're constantly evolving. Uh, Me myself, in short, I'm the same as everyone else. I'm a byproduct of a lot of different experiences, right? From a baby till now, that led me to think or act a certain kind of way. Learned experiences where I walked, the way I talked. Uh, we're all products of our environment and whatever mechanisms we built internally to survive it or do the best we could to conquer it. That's who we all. I'm a father as well. I'm a motivator, but in the same breath, I'm my biggest fan and my worst enemy. I'm the most powerful being in my world because I'm a ball of potential, right, in both extremes. I'm my best and my worst. I'm all of that wrapped up into one. And all of us are, right? If you get in touch with yourself, especially as an adult, you'll realize that you really control just about everything in your world. You always have control of your reaction for sure. Outside stuff may happen, but you have control of your reaction. So right now, at this moment, and we talk all the time, but I'm coming into being aware that I'm the most powerful being in my world, meaning I control what everything means to me, whether that's God or the universe, what that looks like in my mind, I'm in control of it because it's mine. Nobody else has it. Nobody else can think like Edgar Jones. Nobody else can think like Courtney Anderson. So I'm that, and all of us are, like I said, a collection of different experiences from day one until now. That's what you are, manifested. The way you act. We have a saying, and that'll be a whole nother episode, but all ways end in Ys. You spell ways, W-A-Y-S. So why behind it, right? I'm just a projection of my Ys. That's what I am. And so if I leave you with anything, if y'all take anything from that, just think about that when you do have that conversation with yourself. Who am I? Just know you can just end up being the way you are. You just end up that way. It's a reason behind it. And if you can go back and track down that reason, then you can deal with some of the things that you're dealing with, because everybody's dealing with something. You can see me and Egg on here smiling, and we look good thanks to some good genetics.
Great genetics.
Yeah. But we all dealing with something. Edgar deals with something daily. I deal with something daily. I said I was my biggest fan and worst enemy. Sometimes Big C don't want to do what Courtney want to do. Sometimes he don't want to get up at 5:30 and go out to work in 7-degree weather. Courtney know that's got to be done to feed the family, right? So all of us have it. So don't think because you battle with yourself, or sometimes you find yourself in a funk that you're weird. No, you perfectly freaking normal. We all have to work through something, and normally it's ourselves. You block all that out that's going on the outside, the stuff you think is holding you back, and look yourself dead in the mirror. You'll realize that the only thing that can really, really hold you back or stop you from accomplishing what you want to accomplish is you. And that's a beautiful, complicated simplicity right there. It's that simple and that complicated at the same time. So
same time.
Yep.
It's man, you just said something. Yeah, you just said basically that we you're talking about like who we are, but even when I look at that, like it all starts back to your thought process.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really at the end of the day, right? Like it starts back to your thought process, and then outside of that, how I react. I mean, you brought up right earlier that I know that I gotta get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I gotta go take care of business to make sure my family is fed. And at that moment in time, as you going through the thought process, from there's just a simple reaction.
Yeah.
That's it. Like,
That's
hey,
simple.
bro,
Get up.
either for the get up or for the lay down. And I think the more that we're catching those thoughts and what we're thinking, and it ain't something that's gonna happen overnight, man. It's gonna happen in one day. But the more you're practicing the repetition of thinking about what you're thinking and actually countering it and saying, all right, dude, like this is what I'm thinking right now. How can I be able to shift this over to change my thought process? That's extremely important. But everything starts with your thought process and your mind. And from there, like I said earlier, how are you carrying those actions out, man? So
Yeah. Yeah, man. We came to this or these thought processes through experience. Like I said, man, you kind of you get used to dealing with certain stuff on the day to day, and you conquer that. What I started doing was being aware of how I conquered it, right? And then if I take note of that, then the next time I read something else, then I can go back and look at my notes, right? Just like in class, you work out a math problem. It was kind of hard to work out, but you got your scratch paper over here, you get to another one. It was just plug and play at that point, right? Same equation. I can look back, oh, this, I put that there, this here. Even if the numbers change, I still come out to what I need to come out to. So if you think that way, then nothing will ever get too big for you, no matter what it is. Big trauma, small trauma. I like to use the puzzle analogy, right? If I had a 1,000,000-piece puzzle right now, right? Let's say it's a rectangular puzzle. If I had a picture, if I didn't, right? If I pour those pieces out and I don't know where to start from, it's a bunch of different pieces. I know one thing, right? I'm gonna have 4 corner pieces for sure, because it's a rectangular puzzle, right? I have 4 corner pieces and I'm gonna have a bunch of edge pieces, but I know I take my corner pieces and put them in the corners, and then I start going from there. It ain't no way I can take all 1,000,000 of those pieces and put it together all at once. I gotta knock it down in logical steps, right? Corners, edges. We'll work our way on in. If we got a picture, great. So I can look over here and say, okay, that's supposed to be a foot, that's supposed to be a head, that's supposed to be this, that. And then we put it together. Now, once that's done, if we keep doing it, after a while, we don't need a picture. We'll remember the pieces by themselves, right? And then we got that one down packed, and then guess what the world does? Throw us another one, right? And if you ain't careful, you'll panic. What I'm gonna do with another 1,000,000 pieces? Do the same damn thing you did last time. Find your 4 corner pieces, right? Find your edge pieces and work through it. So that's that in a nutshell. So you kept mentioning the thought process. Thought, the way you think is what lit is. That analogy of the puzzles, that's part of what the lit code is. That's what we do. So from here on out, any topics we pick or whatever, you can rest assured we're going to approach it that way. We're going to break it down that way. Once you do that, and once you make a habit of doing it, you practice doing it, it become a habit, and now it's just a lifestyle. And that's what we want to get everybody to. Not letting anything get too big, realizing that you're the most powerful being in your world. And if you want to get it done, you can get it done. In the same breath, if you don't, you won't. You control it.
Yeah. So here's the question. So why is that? Why is that for most of us, we start to try to tap into this at an older age? You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people could probably. I mean, you hear stories about people tapping into it at a young age, but and I think even at times that you see people that tap into it at a young age, then they get off course. Then as they get older, they try to tap back to it. Why is it?
Well, I think it's a lot to do with the different change that society puts on our minds, right? From media to some religions. We're geared to think that life's supposed to go a certain way by what we see on TV, what we read in the book. And especially for our people, the reality is most of the time coming up, life ain't nothing like that. It's not fairy tales. It's not the stuff we see on TV. If we go to our window and look outside, it ain't the same stuff we looking at outside. Mm-hmm. We come from rural South. Quite frankly, our parents at younger ages, they didn't really have time to think. And when we're younger, we didn't have time to think that much. You get up, you go to school, you do your work in school. If you got extracurricular activities, you go to practice, you come home, you do your homework, you eat, you shower, you go to bed, and you start over and do it again, right? We locked into that process. Same way I'm talking about locking into our mental and making a habit of that. Well, we're habitual creatures. And our parents definitely didn't have time to think about it because they got to do what? get all us up,
Yeah,
right?
take care of
Go to work, deal with what they dealing with at work, get back home, go get you from practice, come home, make sure you got something to eat. Daddy got to make sure this, that, and the third getting done outside and around the house, get the bills paid, balance the checkbook, get y'all tucked in, go to sleep, get up, do it all over again. Weekend come, we don't want to think about nothing, right? We trying to have a drink or two, party, let's have a cookout, let's do this and that, or just sit back, listen to some music, but never really having time to tap into that mental. And as men, young men growing up, our dads, both of our dads are quote unquote lumberjacks. They're
yeah.
hardworking men, not really men that you think they're in their head a lot, especially at a younger age. They're trying to get it. That everything's manifested as the physical with men growing up. You don't have time to be emotional, which means you don't have time to think about a lot. You got to react. You know, if somebody is trying to take food off the table, they ain't thinking about nothing, right? They're gonna react to that. And that's how you supposed to do the same thing. No crying, no, like, the man's supposed to be the leader of his house, supposed to be hard, he's supposed to be stern, not necessarily a thinker. So the older you get and stuff starts to slow down, or you start to wonder, like, okay, why am I in this funk? Why haven't I done anything different? Well, now you're thinking about it. The kids grow up, right? And they're out of the way. They're kind of independent. I should say not out of the way, but they're more independent. And now you got time to kind of sit back and think on stuff. And it's still based on what they see. You know, they see a bigger house up the road, or these people just got this new vehicle or whatever it is. And they're thinking, well, man, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? You know what I'm saying?
What am I doing in my life?
So that starts to spark thought. And for me, I guess I started thinking more the more time I spent with myself in silence, really. I've always been a writer, so I've always written my thoughts down when I had time to. But the older I got, and one of the biggest things was watching my daughter be born, right? And I started to think right then at that moment, like, okay, now it ain't just you no more, buddy. You're not the only one. It ain't just your world no more. Everything that you do, it's gonna be attached to her now. She's gonna depend on it, right? And so I started thinking, like, okay, man, I really took a look at myself, like, man, certain stuff you gotta get together, buddy. That thought is in itself. The next question to that thought is, well, how you gonna get there? What are you gonna do? So I started to pay attention to every little thing I did, right? And we all tapped into it, but just subconsciously, you knew you wanted to go to the league. We've been knowing that forever, right? Yeah. Me, Scat, Head, we be going out your senior year. We be going out to a party, right? 9, 10 o'clock at night. If we pass by to hit Dead Man's Curve and go up to the pilot or wherever, but we pass by that school, right? You would be out there on the practice field with a damn parachute and strength shoes, 9, 10 o'clock at night, right? Running sprint. You had to think that, okay, this is what I got to do to get to where I want to go, right? There was thought there. You just wasn't aware of it. It was more of a survival thing, right? Like, okay, I want to change the trajectory of my life. I want to change what my last name means in this community. I want to change the future for my kids that I don't even have yet, right? That was your thought process. And that led you to doing that, and then led you to where you ended up. So we all do it. We're just not as aware of it at a younger age. So I think the more we grow older, and actually, like you said, the clock struck zero for you, and then stuff did what? Slowed down.
Slow down.
Everything's got to slow down.
Down.
Yeah.
Chopping screws, slow down.
When I think the older you get to a certain age, and then life, boom, make the zeros show up, and everything slows down. And at that point, you don't have nothing else but thought. You by yourself. It's one-on-one. Somebody's gonna win. It's the good side, dark side gonna win, or the light gonna win. And so we work towards trying to make sure that light wins. So I think that's what it is. I think, man, it's just about having the time to actually slow down and start thinking. start getting on those processes. If you have kids, you're almost forced into it because they're gonna challenge you. The older they get, you reach these new challenges and you got to figure it out. And so I realized the best thing to do is when something jumps out like that is to stop, slow down, think about it, right? One of my other analogies, if you got your feet in the water at the pond, right, and you walking around, you see the water get all muddy and stuff, it ain't clear no more. If you want it to clear up, right, the best thing you do is to be still, because the more you move, every little motion you make, what's gonna happen? It's gonna cloud up more and more. So until you be still, you let everything settle down to where you can really see. And that's when you can really kind of figure out what you need to do and then start moving towards it. So,
you know what, man, nature and animals can teach you a lot about life.
oh yeah.
You seem like just pay attention. You know, you talk about that muddy water. Just stop moving and it clears up. You know, going back to what you said earlier, when you look at like us growing up and our parents, they go all the time. Um, Really, you ain't got time to think about anything else but taking care of what you need to take care of around you, and that's your loved ones. And by the time you get to the weekend, all you want to do is just really kick it and just have a good time.
Mhm.
And for me personally, that was a big part of my life of just, man, you work so hard for trying to provide for yourself and for your loved ones that by the time you get a little downtime, all you really want to do is just not think at all,
Yeah.
or drink or whatever it is you indulge in, just to try
Yeah.
to put your mind in some type of peace. Um, and I think it's the key component to that is start to ask yourself the question I said earlier, man, what it is am I thinking, and how am I reacting to this situation? Because here's the thing about it is that reaction is inevitable. Like you're gonna do it, you're gonna react. whether it's me talking to someone or acting a fool with someone or yelling at them that may not have nothing to do with how I'm feeling, or maybe
Mhm.
somebody did something to me on Monday and I'm still trying to process it, and then Thursday my significant other comes in and says something to me that ain't got nothing to do with what happened on Monday, and I snap on them.
Mhm.
Or me going to drink, or basically to help me cope with how I'm feeling. The thing is, at the end of the day, it's how am I dealing with these day-to-day things that I'm battling with? Because what we said earlier, right? Everybody's battling with something. How am I coping with this in a healthy form? Um, a healthy form, right? How am I
Yeah.
coping with this in a healthy way? How am I coping with this and dealing with this in a positive way? Whether it's you going to go talk to somebody, you're going to go do some writing, you're doing some meditation. Um, it's extremely important because at the end of the day, it's gonna come out. It's whether it's what I'm eating, whether I'm if I'm drinking something, it's gonna come out. If I'm watching something on TV, whatever it is I may be watching, whatever the music I may be listening to on a consistent basis, all that I'm taking in, it will definitely come out. And I think for me, even starting to get to a point of, man, just what am I listening to? It's even so crazy now that when I'm watching TV, if I see a sexual scene on TV, I probably don't need to watch it, bro. Like, if I see a sex scene on TV and like
Yeah.
it's a show they showing a lot of that,
Yeah.
man, I'm just planting seeds.
Yeah.
That's literally all I'm doing, right?
Mhm.
Like that's all I'm doing. And before I know it, I'm thinking about all these different things.
Yeah.
Um, and then I got this battle that you potentially may be dealing with because of me not just being aware of like, man, what am I watching? What am I listening to? And these seeds that I'm planting, how these seeds starting to sprout.
Yeah.
And that's just honest, man. Just saying, hey, what is this? What am I paying attention to? And how about I probably turn this off? This ain't helping me out.
Yeah.
Like, right? Because listen, the fact of the matter is the world's already throwing you a lot. Whether it's if you're indulged and you watching the politics side of it, it's a lot that's going on. I mean, with the weather, it's a lot going on. I mean, right now we're in the middle of a pandemic, it's a lot going on.
Mhm.
So just me taking in and knowing that even if I'm not watching it, I know that there's a lot going on. That can already play a part on my mental,
Mhm.
how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking and what am I doing. So if I'm not, and if I'm not starting to be in tune with all the other things that I'm taking in, man, you'll be running yourself crazy
Yep.
or going crazy on somebody else.
Yep.
Like, and we all have been there. Me, I speak for myself. I have definitely been there. You take it in so much, especially at the NFL level, man. That world was so high stressed. Like
Yep.
you got to perform at a high level every single day. At practice, they watch you. I mean, literally at practice, they have cameras where they watch you out in the field. They're watching you practice.
Mhm.
Um, Not only that, then when you go into game day, you don't need for microscope. And the language in the NFL is all about what have you done for me lately. And for a guy like me coming into the NFL undrafted with a $500 signing bonus, man, I was in a dogfight for all 7 years,
Yeah.
like fighting all the time. So that stress of what have you done for me lately? And an example I always give people is that I said, imagine you going into your job on Monday and you make a mistake. And after you make that mistake, let's say you made a couple mistakes. And after you make those couple mistakes, the next day you go into your job, they got 7 people that they interview, they getting ready to interview for your position. And you see those people.
Hmm.
When I was playing linebacker, if I go out there and mess up a couple times, especially me being undrafted, I can faithfully remember going into the facility the next week. And if I've been consistent in messing up, they'll bring in 5 other linebackers to work them out. And you will literally walk past those linebackers after they finish walking out. While I'm going on the field, they're walking past me. And I know, like, hey, you better tighten up because
Yes.
you about to get replaced. Like, that was my world, that stress. And for me, honestly, quite frankly, um, I didn't cope with it the right way, man. I didn't cope with it in a healthy way. I think that played a part, and they kind of really end up leading to a path of me just really starting to drink a lot. I mean, just because that was a good coping mechanism for me, just to help me deal with that high level. Um, and even quite frankly, too, man, you know, with my buddy Javon Belcher, man, when he ended up killing himself
Yeah. I remember that.
December the 1st, man, he committed suicide, dude, and ended up, you know, killing his wife as well. When that happened in Kansas City, man, I didn't know how to cope and deal with that. And the only way I knew was through substance, because I just didn't feel like I wanted to go talk to anybody about it. So I say that to say is that due to all these experiences that we've had in life, and we've all had it, I think we need to start asking ourselves the question of how am I coping with this, and what am I doing right now? Is this detrimental to me physically and mentally, or is it helping me out?
Yeah. Well, I think you said a key word there. So once we dive into thinking a lot and jumping into our thought processes, the word you said was aware, right? That's big because in order to tackle anything and know you got a problem, right? First thing you got to be is aware of it. I know one of my breakfast posts, I talk about us playing Madden as youngsters, the video game, right? Or NBA Live or anything, where they had this creative player mode. And
hmm You take all your players, you put 99 on everything.
everything, you turn everything up. Now, I mean, later on, you could turn all of them up. But early on, if you remember, you had a point pool. So if you turn speed up to 99 and you turn tackling up to 99, then you only had so much left to kind of give to the other attributes. So you couldn't turn everything up. You kind of had to spread it out. And a lot of times, of course, if we're playing football, for instance, we want to turn up tackling. We want to turn up, if you're a linebacker, we want to turn tackling, meanness, toughness. You want all this stuff, right? Speed, you got it turned up. And then you had other attributes on there like, uh, and one was awareness. And if you neglected awareness, then guess what you get? You get a heat-seeking missile. But if they run one play fake, he lost because he's not aware of what's going on. A lot of us, we got all the potential in the world, right? We turned up on everything. We find on all cylinders, but we not, our awareness ain't turned up. So an opportunity comes, or when it's a problem that we're causing, but we ain't aware of it. So we just flying around the field, going crazy. We not aware. The key thing is being aware. And then once you are, you'll start to grab on to things. If you and your spouse having an argument, y'all keep having the same argument about the same thing over and over again, and you just blaming her for it, you probably not aware of what you're doing, right? you just firing right off at her. So you becoming aware of those things, you becoming aware of the fact that you were deciding to deal with your pain through substance. You first had to be aware of that, right? So if you're never aware of it, then you'd be in the same funk now. But since you're aware of it, thought process click, how can I get away from this? You see what I'm saying? So that's extremely important. I didn't want to miss out on that. You know how we do, we talk, and I usually have a pen beside me, but I just took the time to text that word to myself because I didn't want to lose that one. Just be aware, man. Be aware of what's going on in your life. Really sit down, ask yourself these questions. Like he said, what am I doing right now to deal with stuff when stuff gets tough? Why do I always back into a corner? It's a reason for it. Once you're aware of that reason, then you can move on and kind of start tackling whatever it is you need to tackle.
And here's the cool thing about that too is that, you know, timing is everything.
It is.
Like time is extremely important. So, you know, at this moment in time, is it time for me to back into a corner, just kind of sit back and watch? Or is it time for me to go ahead and step out?
Mm-hmm.
You know, depending on the situation. You know, even biblically, the Bible talks about time. Right? There's a season, time for everything. There's a season to smile. There's a season to cry. Like the weather does that, right? Like there's a season to prune, and there's a season to bear fruit. Like timing is extremely important, and I think in order to understand when this time is for me to do this or do that, it goes back to being in tune with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Our bodies are always speaking to us, right? You run upstairs and you out of breath, your body tells you, bro, you need to get in shape.
Yeah.
like it ain't, you know, it ain't rocket science. It's like it's always trying to deliver and give us messages and speaking to us.
Mm-hmm.
Or you ever had been able to talk to somebody, have a conversation with someone, and something just telling you just to be quiet, just listen. And then you go talk, and then as soon as you start talking to somebody, and it was this time to talk, the conversation ended up getting blowed up because you tried to over trump them and over talk them. Let's say you're talking to your significant other or friend, and y'all are having some type of conversation back and forth, like you over trump them by you just not sitting back and paying attention. At some point in time, someone's telling you just to sit back and be quiet and just listen, you know. But in order to get to a place where you can start to tap into that, right? We talk about awareness. It goes back to, man, just 5 minutes a day, sitting down, meditating, you know, sitting down, closing your eyes. Or we talked about this so many times. Meditation, it can look different for everybody, you know, what everybody considers meditation. But I know there's another conversation, another episode we can get into as well. So
yeah, you something else I want to touch on right quick. You talked about how in the NFL there's always somebody sitting there ready to take your spot. They bring in somebody, 5 people. If you messed up, you didn't necessarily know it then, but life is pretty much the same way, right? It's always somebody ready to take your spot, somebody willing to take what you think are problems. It's a million people out there that love to have yours in place of theirs, right? So that's another episode too. But you just got to be aware of that. Because a lot of times I used to get down on myself because I'm an ambitious person. I kind of know my potential. Everybody outsiders will tell you, hey man, you this, you that. You try not to feed into it too much, but you're aware. You know, you should be doing more. But at the same time, I was doing a lot of good stuff anyway. But my mind being so ambitious, I ain't doing nothing. I ain't doing enough. Well, the whole time that I'm crapping on my life and what I got, I ain't doing enough. But somebody sitting on the outside, like, hey, you fall off with it, I take it. Like that's something I want to leave everybody with too, man. Just remembering that you somebody's goal, somebody's looking at you, no matter how bad you think you got it, and wishing they can get to where you are. If you're aware of that, you'll feel better about yourself. You make sure you don't neglect what you've already done and what you've accomplished so far. If 2021 is going better for you than 2020 did, you're on the right path. Now you might not be where you want to be, but incrementally you're walking it down. Don't take that for granted. Like rejoice in it, right? Celebrate the small wins, and then you take that finish line, pick it up, and throw it out in front of you, go get it again. But don't neglect the fact that you got there in the first place. Don't just think that ain't nothing. Like start cheering yourself on more. I said it when I started. I'm my biggest fan and worst enemy. Don't be your biggest fan more so you are your worst enemy. Don't beat yourself down so much, man. Just keep being aware that you've done a lot. All of us, man, come from where we come from. And I know people from other walks of life. I'm not saying I had it bad coming up, but come from where we come from to get out there and accomplish anything is a testament. That's something you want to covet, your ability to do that. So that's for our people, and ain't nothing given to us by no means. So don't let anybody else define what your success is. Don't get caught up in what society is telling you success ought to be. If you feel good about what you're doing, and you set a goal for yourself and you go get it, that goal might be, hey, man, I'm gonna put up $5,000 this year. Some people will say, man, $5,000. Some people say $5,000. You see what I'm saying? It's all in the mind. It's your mindset on it. Like, don't let nobody tell you that ain't nothing in your world. That might be great. You know what I'm saying? If you knock that down, rejoice in it. Pat yourself on the back for that. And then set another goal, go get it. Remember, if you can get that, then you can get whatever's next. Just keep building on stuff. Like I said, the puzzles, keep building on that, man. Keep that in your mind at all times. And I think anything you come across, man, it'll be easier for you to deal with.
Yeah. Man, if you don't learn how to rejoice and celebrate yourself with those small victories,
yeah,
when you finally get to a point of accomplishing what you really want to accomplish, you'll never understand on how to be able to celebrate that, or you'll never be able to truly appreciate that because you never practice the habit of celebrating anything at all.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it's we getting ready to sign out. Thank y'all so much for checking out the L.I.T code. Looking forward to putting more content out. Yeah,
man, y'all stay tuned. We thank y'all. We celebrating our first episode. This is a victory for us. We reached that finish line. We're gonna get together, do our editing, put this out, and then guess what we're gonna do with that finish line? Gonna pick up and throw as far as we can ahead of us, baby. We're gonna get it again. But we're gonna celebrate this one, man. It was a honor and a pleasure as always, man. Thank y'all again, and we'll be seeing you soon.